Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The name's Muhammad Amar bin Muhammad Zulkifli. I'm a diploma in science student. Today, I will be presenting my project, which is dubbed The Use of Chemical in Warfare. Now, this is quite a bitter pill to swallow since it is a sensitive subject. However, this is real history of something that has occurred, and I will become the bigger man and tackle this issue head on so that the children can sleep peacefully at night knowing that someone has took on the burden of this dreaded subject. We'll begin with the meaning of chemical warfare. Chemical warfare involves using the toxic properties of chemical substances as weapons such as nuclear bomb and sulfur mustard, which is commonly known as mustard gas. These kinds of weapons, all of which are considered weapons of mass destruction, a term that contrasts with conventional weapons. The use of chemical weapon in international armed conflict is prohibited under international humanitarian law by the 1925 Geneva Protocol. After World War I, the 1993 Chemical Weapon Convention prohibits signatories from acquiring, stockpiling, developing, and using chemical weapons in all circumstances except for cases such as research, medical, pharmaceutical, or protective purposes. Moving on, we'll talk about chemical weapons. Before that, what does the word weapons mean to you? Is it something you use to defend yourself? Or is it something that people use to hurt other people? Manslaughter. Anyway, I digress. Chemical weapon refer to a variety of chemical compounds, often harmful substances designed to kill, harm, or disable enemy personnel. These lethal agents made their debut in World War I, which happened during 1914 to 1918, where gas warfare alone caused over 1 million casualties among combatants and claimed the life of approximately 90,000 individuals. Now, this is where the turning point of humanity happened. The sudden realization of military generals that in a war situation, this is one of the most effective and efficient ways of neutralizing targets. Moving on, let me brief you on the evolution of chemical gases. Before World War I, major European powers signed a contract and agreed to not use any form of harmful chemical in the battle. However, as the supposedly short war dragged on, both sides began experimenting on chemical weapons. In which case, I will explain this. Bromine. Bromine was an early example of the weapons used. Like any other halogens, bromine has 7 valence electrons in their shell. So, in theory, bromine would shred cells in the eyes and nose to steal electron. However, most of these bromine attacks ended up failing. For instance, the freezing Russian winter means that the gas couldn't even vaporize in the air, and in most cases, soldiers didn't even realize that they had been attacked. Until the situation began to change, when Nobel Prize winner Fritz Haber utilized his chemical genius to set out to craft even deadlier chemical weapon. He led a group of scientists, which the German military dubbed the disinfection unit. He decided to move on from bromine and instead focus on chlorine. On April 22nd, 1915, at Ypres, as soon as the wind shifted in Germany's favor, German soldiers turned the valve of more than 5,700 canisters of chlorine gas. A green cloud engulfed the battlefield with a height of 50 feet and 4 miles in length. You can look at the picture that I have presented. Now, allow me to give a brief explanation on chlorine gas. Chlorine, as we all know, is above bromine in the periodic table. Hence, it is also more reactive. When chlorine hits the mouth and throat, a reflex to hold our breath will be induced. But ultimately, you will gasp, and the chlorine will react with the water in our cells. I have put on the equation, which is chlorine will react with water to produce hypochlorous acid, hydrochloric acid, and oxygen. This will cause the acids will tear our capillaries and alveoli in our lungs, spilling out fluids that will prevent lungs from absorbing oxygen. This causes many of the victims to eventually drown, even on dry land without any water. Now, finally, we will talk about the piece de resistance. We will talk about what the thing that majority of people first come to mind upon hearing the term chemical warfare, nuclear weapon. Before I delve any further, I would like to clear up any misunderstanding. The little logo of the man is not him giving approval or praise on nuclear weapon. Instead, it is a common technique to estimate the radius of a nuclear blast. This is a literal rule of thumb. If you observe the mushroom-like cloud formation on a nuclear blast and point your thumb out like this, if the cloud's peak doesn't go over your thumb, it would mean that there might be a slim chance for you to live to see another day, albeit not guaranteed. And since it is human nature to destroy, it is inevitable that with the advancement of technology, there will also be more harm as well as good. So nuclear weapon, which is the true weapon of mass destruction, had debuted in 1945. Now I will elaborate. We are used to chemical processes in which atoms share or transfer electron to form new compound, leaving the atomic nuclei largely unaffected. However, this is the epitome of nuclear chemistry, which focuses on the study of nuclear reaction and processes involving atomic nuclei. When atomic nucleus react, it is accompanied by the release of enormous amount of energy, as much as 1 billion times more than the energy released by chemical reaction that we are used to. Now, I will give a drops of context on nuclear fusion and fusion. Nuclear fission involves the splitting of an atom nucleus into two or more smaller nuclei, resulting in the release of a significant amount of energy. On the other hand, nuclear fusion involves the merging of two like atomic nuclei to create a heavier nucleus, resulting in the liberation of a substantial quantity of energy. Now, every journey must come to an end. The same could be said about my presentation. Before we bid farewell, I will give some food for thought for the viewers to ponder about. Why did the humans decide that nuclear war was the only solution for them keeping the score? Alrighty then. A wise man once said, nothing at all. Luckily for me, I'm not wise and I'm barely a man. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.